shore. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet the foe. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we did the Alamo. We will always remember how they died for liberty. Let's remember Pearl Harbor and go on to victory. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet the foe. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we did the Alamo. We will always remember how they died for liberty. Let's remember Pearl Harbor and go on to victory.
Not only has he achieved this wonderful longevity, he's done it with such grace, and he's been such a motivation for me and our family. And it's just really super to look around and see some faces that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm just couldn't be more pleased you're all here. And Martha has written a limerick that will kind of quickly pull together the Steve's life from baby to today. So I invite Martha to come up and share this limerick to help everybody have a little better idea of the high spots. And because Steve really had the accomplishments for a dozen people in his life. And it's pretty hard to imagine one man could have accomplished what he has. Come on, dear.
Let's see, is this working? On June 12, 1916, Steve was born, the Weiner family to adorn. With a cry he announced, "Here I am," blessing his parents, Rose and Sam. Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania was home. With a brother and two sisters, he was never alone. Growing up during the Depression, life was far worse than our recession. There were bread lines a mile long. Sam declared, "My children will grow big and strong." The wholesale produce business was his dad's work. During these tough times, his business was a perk. But that's not where Steve chose to lurk. Beaver Falls seemed too small to answer Steve's entrepreneurial call. The University of Pittsburgh he did graduate, but jobs were scarce, he couldn't wait. The Army Air Corps Steve enlisted. Life would be better, he insisted. Flight school he thought was best, so he packed his bags and headed west. California had been his dream. This is where he would earn his wings. Attending officer school, a lieutenant he became. Stationed in Pearl Harbor, life would never be the same. With fishing rod in hand and hula dancing on the sand, Steve enjoyed the aloha land, unaware of the Japanese plan. The bombing of Pearl Harbor was a fright, bringing many long sleepless nights. The honored title of hero Steve bore. He interrogated the first prisoner of war. Ensign Sakamaki was his name. They became friends and shared the fame. Later, Walter Cronkite and Oliver North discovered their story to bring forth. Steve returned stateside to Reading, PA, a captain in uniform, dapper in those days. Reading Air Force Base was his new home, But Steve was feeling quite alone. So off to a restaurant to mingle and eat, hoping there was someone nice to meet. A beautiful woman caught his eye. His heart skipped a beat. Steve let out a sigh. He asked the manager would he be able to introduce him to the girls at the table. Steve was smitten and didn't hesitate to ask this young woman for a date. She was lovely and quite pretty. Her name was Kitty. They dated, and it didn't take long. They married, and he served at the Pentagon. Kitty's exciting news soon came. Was Steve ready for the family game? 9 months later, it was hospital time. Steve thought, Kitty, she's fine. I'm off to the cafe to dine. But upon his return, all was in a flurry. Billy Boy had arrived in a hurry. The appointed time, he couldn't wait. He wanted to make sure he wasn't late. And so the adventure began with this little family hand in hand. Off to California they did go to begin a new life without the snow. It didn't take them very long for Brother Bobby to come along. Now I have a buddy, Bill thought, and again, mischief was wrought. Steve partnered with Milt, his brother, in the escrow business. They complemented one another. The finance business was Steve's next venture. He was looking forward to this great adventure. He originated First United Thrift and Loan, a successful business he would never bemoan. Next came his grand scheme. Building shopping centers was the theme. This met with great success, so onward did Steve press. He drew up plans for an office building on Wilshire Boulevard, his vision unyielding. Later, Jim Herbert came along and offered a deal. Steve contemplated, could this be for real? And now we have Jim to thank for founding First Republic Bank. Kitty had need for adventure. The travel business became her venture. 126 countries they did explore. Traveling the globe was never a bore. Around the world they did roam, but always happy to come home. Peacefully living by the sea, there wasn't a better place to be. With Brentwood Golf Course just down the street, the whole darn thing just couldn't be beat. All these happy years together, to witness their journey is pure pleasure. 100 years Steve has now booked. Let's not miss a chance to take a good look. With grace and ease, he does inspire for all of us to live life a bit higher. Happy birthday, Steve.
That was great.
My daughter-in-law. Gee, I really don't know what to say other than it's really been a pleasure. I'm glad we found each other.
Yeah.
Then again, thank you, all of you. You're such a gorgeous crowd that even Steve said, gee, I didn't know we had all these wonderful friends. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure and mine alone.
On your 100th birthday, it's an honor and privilege to join you with your family and friends. For a century, you have graced the world as a historic patriot, leader, and devoted family man. Your amazing life epitomizes neighborhoods first and helps make our city and world a better place in which to live. Thank you so much.
I'm here on behalf of the National Commander of the American Legion, and I'm a member of the Pacific Palisades Post, so I put on my yarmulke. And Steve, this is from the National Commander of the American Legion. To Lieutenant Stephen Weiner, happy 100th birthday. Congratulations and best wishes on this very special birthday. May it be a very happy one for you, your family, and friends. Stephen, as you reflect upon a century of memories, we hope that you are filled with tremendous pride and joy, and we know you are because you earned it. On behalf of a grateful nation and Pacific Post 283 and the National American Legion, you are the very best in our community. Thank you. Congratulations again for your service and your outstanding achievement. Happy birthday.
This is called A Century On. A century on, what has he not seen who's been least keen? Scripture has it we get 80 and another 10 if we're the strongest of men and women. So reason it out. If you've got the bent, there's always a reason for life's long testament, and always a point one's life has been spared. Dylan said that, and I think he's prepared. You'll do it till you get it right? That's fine by me. But I think it must do with a giving that's free, and frees others to work and win life's great goal, that jackpot of love from enlargement of soul. So take your lap of victory, dear Uncle Steve, and enjoy your great win with your oodles of fans who greet you and love you, and with you all stand. And with your life's partner, our kitty, non-parade. Sail on and sail on, we'll remember this day. And we'll drink a l'chaim to a prince among men, and all the loved company voiced their strongest amen.
And in here I have, I'll give this to you. I have a t-shirt, and it says, is when Steve played football.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jack. We love you. Owen, would you like to say something?
The first I heard of this wonderful event was when I picked up a phone message from Bill Weiner. It was quite a coincidence that at the time I was in a car with my son Ed and my daughter Melissa, and we were just leaving the hallowed streets of Beaver Falls, where Steve and I and many others grew up, long before Joe Namath put it on the map. I pointed out the site at 16th Street and 7th Avenue where my Uncle Sam, Steve's father, had a produce store, and above and behind which the Weiner family lived: Milton, Ruth, Faggy, Steve, and my Aunt Rosie. Rosie was a sister of C.O. Friedlander, Harry Fine, and my mother, Sarah Simon. I was 6 when my mother died in fact in the arms of Steve's sister, Faggy. My father and I moved into the Weiners for, I believe, a number of months. My first major memory of Steve came around that time. Even then, I was a frequent moviegoer. A film I had seen at the Granada Theater, one of 3 in Beaver Falls, was with Claudette Colbert and probably Fred McMurray. I laughed uproariously at a scene in which, to wake him up, Claudette poured a pitcher of ice water on him. That gave me an idea, a bad idea. Steve liked to sleep late on weekends, like most teenagers do. So one Sunday morning, I went into his room on the second floor at the top of the stairs and poured water on him. Needless to say, he was not amused. Why did I do that, he wanted to know. His grilling me was probably a forerunner of the interrogation he gave to the Japanese prisoner he later captured at Pearl Harbor. Beaver Falls was a busy community in those tumultuous years, surviving the Depression of the 30s, adjusting in wartime, thriving post-war. 16, 17 blocks of one business after another. In Steve's block, great diversity. Stores like Mamoni, Tampano, Conti's, Gatto's, Gaudio's, Bonage's, Hoffman's, and there was a lively Jewish community. Tantachaya, Uncle Meyer, the 4 Friedlander boy cousins, the 4 Weiner girl cousins, Trobes, Farkases, Goldbergs, Rosenbergs, Balks, Marksons, Epsteins, Slumoffs, Sudiks, Sedikovs, Solomons, Berkmans, Wazbutskis, Wolfs, and many others. I'm sure Steve over the years has told and will tell more stories about all of them. To this community, as the war was ending, Steve brought his young bride. Ever since then, more than 70 years ago, it's been as if it's one word, Steve and Kitty. Steve and Kitty, he is swell and she is pretty. You don't mention one without the other. To me, over the years, they have been the epitome of a happy, successful, sophisticated, but down-to-earth couple. From near and far, I have admired them. Near, when Steve and Kitty lived in the College Hill section of Beaver Falls, and Steve and I commuted to Pittsburgh on the old P&LE Railroad. Reasonably near, when Bill and Bob came along and they lived well in the Squirrel Hill area of Pittsburgh. Near to, when we formed a Fine Cousins Club, Fine being the family name, not a descriptive word, although it could have been. Time came, in fact several times, when they moved to LA. I was thrilled to visit them at their beautiful apartment at the Churchill on Wilshire, and even more thrilled when they took me to Steve's bank at night. Imagine the owner of a bank unlocking the door for me. And after Selma and I and our family moved here in 1978, when visiting Steve and Kitty at Champagne Towers, our admiration bubbled over. It's always been a delight to welcome to our bar mitzvahs, weddings, seders, and other occasions. Like all of us, our grandsons have been awed by Steve's accounts of his Pearl Harbor experience. We live vicariously through Steve and Kitty's travels to well over 100 countries. And what could be finer than dining with the Weiners here at Brentwood? Banker, businessman, husband, golfer, bridge player, veteran, and more. But to me, Steve remains a guy from Beaver Falls. So the Simons, Wassermans, and Durlowskis are marking this occasion with a brick on the walkway at the Beaver County Historical Society Museum. It reads, "Celebrating Steve and Kitty Weiner on his 100th birthday, June 12, 2016. Happy Centennial, Cousin Steve. You are a brick."
So I'm Jim Herbert. I've known Steve and Kitty since '81, I think it is. But I met Steve in a room about this size when he was running a meeting, and I was protesting something as a young guy in the banking business, and he stood up and said, "Young man, you don't know what you're talking about." And of course, he was right, actually. So I had the good fortune of becoming a friend and purchasing First United Thrift and Loan. That company is still the essence of First Republic, actually. So Steve, thank you. Thank you for the wisdom and the love and the friendship over all these years. You said at the time, keep it simple and keep it clean. We have. Congratulations.
I want you to know I'm one of these people that had to learn the internet. And I was on it last night, and I looking up the last 100 years. And I just picked up a few things that I thought in my life, knowing Steve and Kitty. So I'll be I know we're in a hurry. 1916 to 2016. Launched in 1916 Stephen Weiner. 1. Professional golf met for the first time in New York City. First PGA championship played that same day. 2. Film icon Charlie Chaplin signed his contract. You probably all knew this. This is all new to me. 3. PGA was officially created in America in New York. 4. Stephen was officially launched the same day and chartered following the above. 5. The Boy Scouts followed Stephen, receiving the congressional charter the same day, or after he was, day after maybe. 6. Stephen, you continue to launch your successes, golf, business, bridge, and hope you will continue in good health and happiness with your beautiful kitty and family. All my best, Pat Gumbiner.
It's been beautiful hearing all these wonderful things said about my father. I'm too emotional. I wanted to say some more, but I'm so happy that I can be here at my father's 100th birthday. Thank you all for being here.
All right, the candles are lit for Steve, and I'd like everyone to join in.
Well, we've been together for over 60 years.
Her mother and I were the best friends.
Best of friends. We were always, our families were together. We even drove from Pittsburgh to LA together.
Absolutely.
And we followed you once you you landed here. We decided we came too. Yes.
Okay, now I was.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Uncle Steve. Happy birthday to you.
Who's next? Hello. Who wants to follow that?